Hey everybody, I'm back. This time about Colby Covington, Joaquin Buckley, not the whole card itself, which was, fight night card. The main event, interesting, and a lot of subplots to the whole Colby Covington thing, the story leading up, story afterward. It's almost difficult to start. In a very general way, my take on Colby Covington and his shtick, his persona, however you want to classify it, is, and I've had people ask me this when I was, teaching MMA about kind of having sort of a heel shtick, right? Being the bad guy, having people root against you. Yeah, they still want to see you fight. This is the advice I've always given to people who wanted to go that way. Heels don't have longevity. And what I mean by that is, in combat sports, once you start losing, the shtick becomes infinitely less appealing. It is very difficult to have a comeback. You need fan support once things start sliding, start slowing down a little bit, to get you back in there, to give promoters a reason to give you that shot. You need fan support. You need fans behind you. You need people rooting for you. If they don't like you, once you start losing, you become infinitely less interesting. I remember back in the day, I trained with Tito Ortiz in like 2001, the height of his powers. And he was arrogant, and he was all these things, and that was, the Huntington Beach bad boy was his moniker. And I was there when he was winning, and I was around, obviously, the MMA scene in Southern California when he started losing. And what I noticed was, as he started losing, notably the two Chuck Liddell fights, fans got upset at things they didn't get upset at before. I would talk to people who used to be fans of Tito Ortiz, who now weren't fans of Tito Ortiz, and I would say, why? I'd ask why, why? Oh, he's arrogant, he's this, he's that. And I said, well, he was always those things. People don't want to say, well, I didn't care when he was winning. They don't want to say that. So they make up things that they had no problem with before. As long as he's winning, he can be all these things. Oh, he's stupid, he's this, he's that, he can't make a sentence. Well, Tito was never a bright guy. I don't know what to tell you, right? It's the idea that once you start losing, people abandon ship if you are a heel, right? It's interesting. Oh, man, he talks all this crap, but he backs it up. As soon as you start losing, you don't have the grip on the fans you did before. And I'm seeing that with Colby Covington, and I'm seeing he's starting to see it. What I saw that was really fascinating, I saw an interview. I don't know who it's with. I was kind of looking for it. Please let me know in the comment section if you guys know what I'm talking about. There was an interview, because I only saw pieces of it on social media, where he did an interview, and he was asked, what do people think about you that isn't true, that you wish they didn't think? And he literally said, well, people think I'm a mean person. Yeah. All you do and say is mean stuff. That's your whole brand. You made fun of Leon Edwards' murdered father. You made fun of Matt Hughes getting hit by a train. You consistently say things that are reprehensible to get people talking about you. You gotta own it. I don't know what to tell you. Once you make a living in the public sphere where people looking at you, like me, right, as a commentator, the only things they know about you are what you show them. Everyone watching this YouTube video, the only thing you know about me, unless you run into me in public, is what you see on television and on my YouTube channel. That's it. You don't know anything about my personal life. You don't know anything about who I actually am when I'm not talking to you. And you have to be very careful, or at least conscious, no, not careful, conscious, about what you are showing people, because that's all they know. I'm a really nice guy when I'm, okay, well, I don't run into you getting a cheeseburger. I don't spend personal time with you. The fact that you're a nice guy 99% of the time doesn't matter if that 1% of the time where you're on camera, which is where most people see you, you're an a-hole. As far as everyone else is concerned, you're an a-hole. One of my favorite books is Mother Night by Kurt Vonnegut. And the plot of the book is a spy in World War II who becomes a high-ranking Nazi for the Germans. He's an American spy who becomes a high-ranking Nazi. And he's captured after the war, and he's accused of being a war criminal. And he's sitting in his cell writing his memoir, and he's trying to prove that he was actually an American spy. not really working for the Germans. And I'm not going to give away the whole book. It's a brilliant book. Read it if you can. But the central theme is, if I help the Nazis, does it matter that I was really an American? What I did was evil. Does it matter if I did it for good reasons or I was a spy? I was just pretending. Does it really matter? And one of the quotes in the book is, you are who you pretend to be. So be careful who you pretend to be. Colby is pretending to be an a-hole every time there's a camera in front of him. So the idea that the public thinks you're an a-hole, that's by design. You did that, and you got to own it. And so, oh man, people think I'm mean. Yeah, no kidding. Really. And he was also asked who he would have dinner with if he could. I think it was an opponent. And he goes, Leon Edwards, and talk about all the stuff that went down in the fight. The stuff you said about his murdered father. He didn't use the word apologize that I saw. Could be in the interview somewhere. But it's not the things that were said. The things you said about his dad that would require an apology if you're going to sit down and have dinner with the guy. And you kind of see this, and I've seen it a million times, is toward the end of someone's career, or when they start slowing down a little bit, they start going, wait a second, this shtick doesn't help me. I need fans behind me to make a comeback and all that stuff, and they're not. And I saw it with Michael Bisping. I saw it with Chael Sonnen a little bit, where one of the things about Colby Covington is why is his shtick so cringy and Chael's wasn't, and Chael's is more entertaining. Every time Chael lost, he led us kind of behind the curtain. I remember him saying after the first loss to Anderson Silva that he was heartbroken and devastated, and the humility that he showed was like, total opposite of the character he was showing. And then he kind of ramps it up again, and then he loses in the rematch to Anderson Silva. And I remember somebody saying, he was holding his shorts. And when I was holding his shorts, he was the better man that night, and that's it. It all kind of came down after his fights. And that humility and that humanity is what allows us to connect with a person and root for them. And without that, you're just an a-hole who starts losing and people just cast you out. And I've seen it so many times where they ride this shtick till the end, and you don't have the Randy Couture years where, he was win some, lose some, but, he was Captain America and we were really rooting for him. And so many other fighters, Cowboy Cerrone, who could have these up and down years or mostly down years, and we were behind him because we liked them. Robbie Lawler, whatever. Heels don't get that back chapter. We're done with them. We don't want to see him anymore. And people say, about a heel, like, oh man, the people tune in to watch me lose. That gets really old really fast. Much faster than if you're rooting for a team or a fighter or anybody else. And I think Colby's seeing that now, and you see him kind of, I don't know if he's trying to put the brakes on it or change it a little bit. It's difficult. Right, so getting into the nuts and bolts of the fight itself. Joaquin Buckley dominated him for 3 rounds, and it was stopped because of a cut on the eyelid. The cut itself, Dana White said this wouldn't be stopped in Vegas. 2 things, essentially, decide whether or not a fight is stopped by a cut. It's the size of the cut itself and the placement. It wasn't the biggest cut on earth, but the eyelid, if there's a cut on the eyelid, you're on a short leash. If the eyelid itself tears, which it can A, permanently damage your vision, and B, it's very difficult to fix, right? To sew this up, this very, very flimsy skin, is difficult. And a cut on the eyelid itself, I've seen cuts that weren't as bad as that one stop a fight. Not because the cut is that bad, the placement was really bad. It was right on the eyelid, right here. And so it wouldn't get stopped in Vegas. I wouldn't guarantee that. I've seen cuts exactly like that stopped in California, Vegas, New York, New Jersey, big commission states. So it wasn't really that. Beyond that, he was getting dominated. They stopped it because of a cut. He can say all day, it was 1-1, I was just rolling. Number one, it was not 1-1. Not a single judge gave Colby Covington either of the first 2 rounds, and they shouldn't have. He got crushed. He didn't win the 3rd round either. He was 3 rounds down, right, when the cut caused an end to the fight. So the idea that, man, I was right there. No, he wasn't. Was Joaquin Buckley starting to slow down? Not measurably. I didn't see a guy at the end of round number 3 that I went, oh, man, this is going to be a tough next couple rounds. I didn't see that at all. I saw a guy who was controlling the action. He was feeling good. Remember, he was pumping up the crowd after rounds. He was getting in Colby's face, stopping most of the takedowns. And when Colby got the takedown, he wasn't able to capitalize the way he had in previous fights. All this stuff. The problem is Colby is 36 years old. His style is based on cardio, these kind of slappy punches that get him inside. He's not a powerful striker. He's not a clean striker. It's just kind of bing, 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 and he gets inside. That commitment isn't there. That was another thing in this Joaquin Buckley fight is you got to kind of commit to your shots to get in close enough to take a guy down if you're Colby Covington. Doesn't have all the power in the world. He's not going to frighten anyone with his power. He's got to kind of commit, walk through some shots, and get the takedown. He wasn't able to do that with any consistency. It was the same thing in the Leon Edwards fight. Leon Edwards was able to control range, keep him on the outside, and with a style like Colby Covington that isn't particularly technical or precise or anything like that, it's just walking in behind a combination of punches to get in. And that requires a little bit of, okay, this is going to suck. And he was willing to do that in previous fights. And as he's slowing down and getting older, he's not willing to do that. He's not willing to. Well, you've never been a power guy. You've never been a counter guy. You've never been a timing guy. Don't know what you're going to do, man. You're a volume striker with a really good takedown and gas tank. And the combination it takes to blend that style together, he doesn't have. And he doesn't have like a toolkit that's, GSP or, Anderson Silva or any of those guys who can kind of tweak little things to make something work. He goes bing, 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 gets inside and takes you down. And if that stops working, I don't know what else you're going to do at this stage of your career. So with the Joaquin Buckley loss, I saw a continuation of the Leon Edwards loss. The Leon Edwards loss was one where I was like, he's not an elite guy anymore. I said that at the end of the fight. He's just not elite anymore. Might have some interesting fights, depending on what he wants to do and who he's willing to fight. He can still make money. It's this idea that you're not going to win a title. You're not going to beat Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't think he beats Ian Machado Gary. I don't think he beats Bilal Muhammad. Those guys at the top, I don't think he beats them. But you were getting tuned up. There was a cut. Fight was stopped. And he goes right back into the doctors cost me the fight. And also, another thing, and I would love to hear from some Colby Covington fans in the comment section. When he says, I didn't really have a camp for this fight, I was campaigning for Trump, so I really didn't have a camp. I always think when anybody says that, and it wasn't because of an injury or a personal disaster, right? It's I didn't train because I was doing something else. I always think of Kill Bill Volume 2, Bud, remember his boss in the strip club, going, what exactly are you trying to convince me of? That you're not needed here? I always think of that line when someone goes, I didn't even train for this fight. I was like, all right, what are you trying to convince me of as a fan? That you don't care about this sport anymore? That you didn't put any effort into it? That you don't want a big fight anymore? That you don't want this platform? That you're tired of this? What are you trying to convince me of? That you didn't train for a fight? To me, it's not an excuse that goes, oh, okay, therefore, I see why you didn't do well in this fight. To me, it's more of a concern. If somebody gets in the octagon and didn't train for it, didn't put in the effort, didn't put in a full camp, once again, not because of an injury, not because of a severe personal problem, a death in the family, something like that. It was, I was campaigning for president. Okay, so you didn't put the work in. So why should we, as fans, invest in seeing you again? Why exactly should we do that? So the aftermath is, once again, and as soon as the doctor stopped it, I was like, we're going to hear this. It was all the doctor. I was winning the fight. I was about to come back. Whatever, whatever fairy tales help you sleep at night is what we're going to get from Colby Covington. That's what we've gotten so far. Looking back on it, if you got the opportunity again, when it's all said and done, the opportunity he had in the second Kamaru Usman fight, tough fight, very, very close, go until the final bell, and him and Kamaru Usman meet in the center, and he tells him, he breaks character, and goes, hey man, blah, blah, it's all love, I didn't mean that stuff, hyping the fight, blah, blah, blah. If he had the face turn at that point, different end of his career. I'm not saying he would have fought any better necessarily. I mean, he's 36. Jesus, Father Time catches up to everybody. But that fans behind him wanting to do better. Fans invested in your comeback. that would have been the moment for it. Broke character, did a Chael Sonnen, where at the press conference he's like, hey man, he was the better man tonight. My hat's off to him, blah, 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 blah. All those things. If he had done that, I think this slide at the end of his career, fans would want him to maybe have those, softball fights to kind of get him back in it and go out the right way. As it is, going back to it, the excuses become less and less tolerable as you lose more and more and more and more. Am I wrong because I'm seeing the Colby Covington shtick in a different way than most fans? Am I? Let me know in the comment section. Because I'm one of those people who, all right, the heel shtick, once you start losing, it gets old. I didn't really lose, blah, 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 blah. Tito Ortiz, as I was saying in the beginning, when I trained with him in 2001, Huntington Beach bad boy, fans started turning on him as he started losing. He became the people's champion, Tito Ortiz. He talked about his fans all the time. If you remember those days, he was like, yeah, I love my fans. Well, he saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't the fighter he used to be. He wasn't going to dominate guys. He was going to have some difficulties. He had problems with Dana White in the UFC. I need fans behind me. I need them to root for me. And so he kind of switched tactics a bit. Michael Bisping became the underdog at exactly the right time. He became the foil for Luke Rockhold, who was this cocky, literal male model. And, Bisping became the hardworking blue-collar guy who upset him and blah, blah, blah. And that popularity carried through his short title run into being a commentator for the UFC. It happened at exactly the right time. You need that, for lack of a better term, face turn if you are going to get people behind you at a time you really need them. You don't need them when you're winning, like you need them when you are losing, when you are struggling. And I think Colby Covington is holding on too long to this shtick that has used up its value for him. Because he isn't the fighter he was. We saw it in the last two fights. And this is the first non-title fight he's had in a long time against a tough up-and-coming guy, and he didn't look very good. You can say, yeah, he lost to Kamaru Usman twice, he lost to Leon Edwards. Those were the cream of the crop. Losing to Joaquin Buckley makes him a mid-level guy. And once you're a mid-level guy, fan support is the only thing, coupled with great performances, that I don't think we're going to see again. Only thing that's going to get him out of that. And he has to realize that if it's going to go anywhere. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'll see you next time.